Welcome. Hi. My name's Alexis, aka YellowBunny, aka a little messed up, aka your mom's worst nightmare. Just kidding. So if you're new here, welcome to the channel. This will basically be like a diary, a series of longer form content. Usually I post music videos, I post shorts promoting my music. But as of lately, I've been struggling to keep on top of my music game. Not only because of personal choices that I've made regarding my addiction, but also financial choices, financial limitations, and it's been very difficult for me to stay consistent with music, which has resulted in me having a lot of spare time and a lot of time to fuck up or get fucked up. Basically, I wanted to start this series of longer form content to keep me accountable on my sobriety, but also so you guys get to learn a little bit more about me, about the bunny, about the woman behind the screen. Most of you guys do know, if you've watched my content and everything, I'm very transparent in my struggles with addiction and my journey in recovery. And as of lately, I've been struggling a lot. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I have not been able to go to the studio, make music, do things as easily and as consistently as I want to. So here we are with a little series, and you can get to know me. I'm excited to do this series just for the fact that I still get to be creative. I get to make something, produce something, and without the pressure of constantly having to make new music for you guys. I think overall this will be a good starting point to really dialing in my brand, because I know a lot of people say, like, don't make your addiction your personality, but I have been a strong advocate about sharing my experience in addiction to make others feel heard and hopefully less alone, and hopefully relate to the stuff that I went through as an addict. And I think doing this on my already happening music channel would be a perfect start. You know, I've always wanted to start a I always wanted to start a YouTube channel, but then I just realized that I already have a freaking YouTube channel, and who's to say that I'm not allowed to post music and post this content on the same platform if it's all talking about the same thing, my life in addiction and my music and my journey. So let's get started. For this intro video, I wanted to do a Q&A. So I went up on Instagram, I threw up a little question box here, and I asked you guys what you wanted to learn about me, about my life, about my journey. So let's get started. So got my questions right here. I'll also put them up on this corner or whatever fucking corner. I can't tell which corner is what corner yet, but we will find a corner for the questions to go up on. So D33-Gomez wanted to know, what made you make music? I always really loved music. I love pop music. I grew up listening to the radio. I didn't really have many options for, you know, the type of music I was listening to. So I grew up listening to straight pop, learning what was catchy, learning what was popular. It's like vibing with that kind of music. So I used to like learn songs and like do little performances for my foster parents and for my dad and everything. But it wasn't really until like around 2011, 2012 when like Nicki Minaj Super Bass came out, when No Love with Eminem and Lil Wayne came out, that I realized very quickly that I didn't have to be the greatest singer in order to make music. Like I'd already been writing songs since I was like 10 years old or some shit, like just vibing, but I didn't think singing was my strong suit. So when I found out hip hop was an option, I started writing raps when I was like 13, and it became one of my goals to try to be a rapper. I remember the first concert I ever went to was a Smack the Ripper concert. There I met this guy who was like, oh, you know anything about underground hip hop? I was like, nah. So he showed me the ropes in that. Ever since then, like, I wanted to pursue being a rapper and making music that didn't have the limitations of having to be a great singer, right? I'd been making music since I was like, writing raps since I was like 13 till I was like 17. When I was 17, I went to treatment for the first time, and I found out that one of my best friends had passed away We were foster siblings together, so it really hit home for me to have someone so close to me die of addiction. I wrote a song about my feelings dedicated to that person, and I was like, this is gonna be my first song. Like, if I'm gonna put out music, there's no reason why this shouldn't be my first song, because that person, my foster sibling, they were a huge supporter. They would listen to all my raps all the time, like would come hang out at my house and be like, what'd you write? What'd you write? So they were just a really big supporter of my music at the time. So when they passed away, I figured, you know what better place to start than making a memorial song, or, you know, like a remembrance song of that. So my very first song, it was 2 years in the making. I hocked out a bunch of money. At the time for me, it was a lot of money, like probably like $500 with going to the studio and gas money, making sure I could get to the studio and everything. And I finally put out my first song in the beginning of 2019 on the anniversary of their passing. So that was really like the catalyst of like what made me like start doing music. And I'm very grateful for that, and I'm very grateful for that person, because I don't know, I feel like in those series of events, like if that didn't happen, I don't know if I would have the guts to have put out a song, but I just felt like that was very needed. And yeah, so it's kind of like where I started making music and everything. Riley Love Life asks, what made you take drugs? Well, let's think. Both my parents were drug addicts, and I knew that at a very young age. Like, they were very open over the fact that they used drugs. They didn't want to hide it from me, because I feel like the secrecy would have made me a little bit more curious, but at the same time, I feel like the knowledge also made me pretty curious. I first started smoking pot, like, right in the beginning of grade 8, so I was 12, turning 13, and by the end of that year, I'm a September baby, so by the end of that year, I'd already tried crack for the first time, tried Molly, I was already drinking and everything, so it was pretty much just a fast rabbit hole into the fact that I already knew what drugs were, so it made me less scared of them, but it also made me more curious to see like how much could the drugs really impact me. So I had been using drugs for almost 10 years now at this point. And then right before I turned 14, I got addicted to meth, and I had been using meth consistently from 14 up until I was 19. But like, what made me? Like, what could have made me? I don't think anything made me. I think it's the fact that drugs are addictive, and if you're not scared of them, it's gonna make them 10 times more addictive, because you're not scared to die at that point. Lucky CJ777 asked, your upbringing? What do you want to know about me? My upbringing. Okay, so it's a long thing, because I grew up in foster care, but not really, but kind of, and then went back in foster care. It's like it's a long story. So basically, my mom lost custody of me and my siblings when I was very young. I think we were only living with her for like maybe a year or two before the ministry got called on her, and me, Sam, Kiana, and Britt, my sisters, all got put into different homes. And at one point, we all got to be in the same home. My foster parents, Virginia, and her husband, they looked after us really well. And my dad's the type of guy, even though he was an addict, he did have money, he did have a job, he did have stability. He's like, I'm not letting my kid grow up in foster care. But he worked out of town a lot. So what ended up happening is he paid those foster parents, the ones that were looking after me and my sisters, he paid those foster parents out of his own pocket after he got full custody of me to look after me when he was at work. So even though I didn't technically grow up in foster care, I did have these foster parents raise me from when I was 1 year old up until I was 12. So, and they were lovely people. I still talk to them to this day. I give them so much praise, because I think that's the only reason why I have some level of normalcy in my life, because I got to see what the middle class was doing. I got to see how normal people were living life. Like, it was super, I don't know, it was super inspiring to me just seeing people, you know, who weren't rich, but they were rich in life. Like, they had family, they had belongings, they were proud of what they were doing, you know? They really had a really good impact in my life, and I love them very much. Like, they were my godparents and everything. So from there, I think I was 12 years old when my foster parents were dying back in Manitoba. They had to stop taking care of me so they could go take care of their family out in Manitoba. So my dad ended up taking care of me full time. And that being said, like I told you before, 12 going on 13, going on to grade 8, that's the beginning of high school. My dad did not know how to raise someone, a child, a girl with hormones rushing through their body and with an aching heart of the people that, you know, generally showed me what love was, and having them being taken away from me in that sense. So again, when I was 12, 13, I just decided to go wild. I was like, yo, what's pot like? Yo, what's this drinking like? Yo, like this, that, like, I just got super curious. I was filling a void in my heart, more or less, because the people that showed me what true, genuine love were gone. So I feel like that had a huge impact on why I started using drugs so young and why I was such a little shithead towards my dad at the time. And yeah, I made it. Ooh, next question. Let's get a little deep. Okay. Modest Duke asked, what's your heritage? So on my dad's side, I'm Ukrainian. My great-grandparents came over from the Ukraine to escape famine. So really I'm like what it would be like 3rd generation Canadian on my dad's side. My grandma was Ukrainian, my grandpa was Ukrainian, my dad. We're really a shit mix of like all the Eastern European, like Ukrainian, Polish, Welsh, but mostly Ukrainian. And on my mom's side, she's from Norway House Cree. She's quarter native, but she's also quarter Ukrainian. So I'm more Ukrainian than I am native, but having my mom grow up with her indigenous side, her indigenous influences, I've always been proud of my indigenous side. I've always embraced my indigenous side. A lot of people say like, oh, well, you're mainly white. It's like, yeah, but my mom's status, she grew up on a res. My grandma grew up on the res. Like, I have those influences in my family. Like, but I've always had a struggle with my cultural identity, but I am Ukrainian and native. I like to call it Ukree because it's Cree and Ukrainian. I'm a little Ukree. So that's the vibe. Yeah. No. CRLE Best asks, what do you do at your low points to get by and feel better again? It's a good question, because I am a spiral. I'm a consistent spiraler. I think, like, I have an answer for you. Here's my answer, but it's not gonna help you. That's the problem. A lot of the time when I'm feeling unconfident, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so flustered. I don't think I'm doing enough. I think I'm a piece of shit. I think, you know, the world's ending. A lot of the time I go onto my YouTube videos and I look at all the nice comments that you guys give me, and it really, you know, like helps soothe my anxiety about everything, because, you know, so many of you are so supportive of what I'm doing and so supportive of my music and really believe in the message that I'm bringing onto the table, and it makes me feel a lot better. So when I'm really, really sad, I'll just go through my YouTube comments and it makes me feel at least half better, you know? I may not know what I'm doing, but you guys like it, and that makes me good inside. That makes me feel good inside. Josh Sheeler TV asked, have you ever thought about moving away from your area to work on sobriety? Fun fact, I've done that a lot. Hence why I left my hometown of Kamloops. I was like, fuck this place. All I got here is drugs. I put one song out, let me move to Vancouver. So I lived in Vancouver for a while, I lived in Surrey for a while, I lived in Langley for a while, I lived in Burnaby for a while, I lived in Delta for a while. I keep moving. And the thing is about that, it doesn't matter how many times you move away from somewhere, If you're not willing to change your actions, your settings, the people you choose to hang out with, if you're not willing to change, it doesn't matter where you move to. It does not matter where. You can move to freaking Alaska and you're still gonna find fucking demons to play with, you know? Like, I had this one kid tell me, just because you move into a new town doesn't make you new pussy. And I was like, okay. But that stuck with me. He was on to something. And that's right. If you're not gonna change your actions, then it doesn't matter where you're gonna move to. Like, you'll still be the same. So you gotta find the change in your heart to do so. Here's a good question. Ryder asks, what are your reasons you want to stop? Hands down, it's because I don't want to die. I said this once, I'll say it again. You can't make music if you're dead. And as many times as I've tried to kill myself with drugs, at the end of the day, every time I've overdosed, I woke up and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to die. I just don't. It may feel like it in the moment when you're trying to use as much substances as you can to numb the pain that you're going through. But once you hit that close to death experience, you really, it gets put into perspective a lot, that's not what you want to do. I've overdosed 10 times in the past 10 years. And realistically, I don't want to die. I want to be able to live and share my experience and, you know, give insight to what addiction really is and how it can affect almost anybody and anyone in any circumstance, any situation. And by using and getting so close to death, I feel like I'm really being a hypocrite to the message that I want to spread. And I've always wanted to spread this message. If I could sing you the first rap I ever wrote and it was about addiction. Like, nothing has changed from when I first started doing music to now. It's all been about sharing my experience with pain, sharing my experience with addiction, sharing other people's experiences in addiction, because I've had so many friends of mine lose their lives to this, or, you know, basically come not all there because of this, and they're never the same because one overdose messed up their brain so much that they no longer can function as a regular human being anymore. And I think that's the most important, I think it's the most important part of why I do this. And, you know, every time I get too fucked up and overdose and die, I really feel like I'm going back on my family, I'm going back on my followers, I'm, you know, just fucking telling them to kiss my ass in one way or another, even though, like, deep down, I know I just want to share my experience. So why do I want to stop? I want to live. I want to live. I can't spread this message if I'm dead. And I think that's the most important thing to me, is that I'm alive to spread the message that I want. And yeah. Okay, that's all the questions I want to answer now. That got really deep. Pulling my heartstrings. I'm trying not to cry. But if you guys like this style of content, go to my Instagram, drop some comments or drop some questions in the comments here. If not here, go to my Instagram. I'm going to keep on putting up ask me question tabs. I don't know what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. These things. I'm going to keep posting those. So if you have any more questions, I will try to drop a video maybe next week. But until then, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments if you're digging this style of content. Also, if you haven't seen it already, I just dropped a new video called Jaded. It's this cross Canada music video. It was supposed to look like a one take. It's super cool. I'm very proud of it. The only video I've dropped this year, first video I've dropped in 8 months, so I'd really appreciate it if you guys go check it out. Other than that, hi, my name's YellowBunny, and it was nice creating with y'all.